then the last thing I'm gonna say to help you have an offline semester, I want you to come a little closer for this one. Don't use AI. Hi Slayers, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eileen, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to have an offline semester. So many of you, like myself, have probably started the school year again and are looking to be on that damn phone less. So these are just some ideas and some fun things you can do that are not be on your phone, but also kind of pertain to the whole back to school spirit. So I hope you enjoy, I guess, and I hope you have a good semester. Also, you may notice that this is a new background, and that's because I moved into my very first apartment, which is really cool. So I hope you kind of like the background. It is a work in progress, but for right now, this is what we're working with. Okay, so the first couple things I'm going to talk about are actually apps, and I know that might be a little contradictory because, like, aren't you trying to stay off your phone? But these are apps that will help you stay off your phone. So the first one is called Refocus, and this app is essentially like the screen time timer that tells you to get off your phone at a certain time, but it actually sets it so that you can have it be blocks of time. You can say, I don't want to use my phone from 8 to 5, and then that way it'll block it for those periods of time. It'll block certain apps for you. But if you want to have some actual relaxing leisure time later, then you can have it be unblocked for you. And it's not by how long you've been using your phone, it's just by what time of day it is. So that's why I really like it, and that's why I think it's worth it. I do think that some of these apps are paid, but it's like a one-time fee, and it was pretty worth it for me because I do love using Refocus, and I think it helps me kind of try to block off mentally, at least, when I'm supposed to be on my phone or on certain apps and when I'm not. The next app is called Beeper, and I really like this app because it basically takes all of your Instagram DMs and puts it into this app, because I don't know about you, but I text people on Instagram sometimes, and then when I'm texting people, I'm actually just scrolling on Instagram. So this app makes it so that I can see all my DMs, but I can still have Instagram be blocked, and that way I'm not scrolling on Instagram Reels, I'm just DMing people. And also it comes up separate in your screen time, so you can see how much time is actually devoted to talking to people and how much time is you doom scrolling until you can't think anymore. This is sort of a beta app, and it's not fully fleshed out. You have to do some like interesting things to download it. I believe I had to put in like a passcode for it and connect all of my apps together before it could actually work. But once it worked, it's really, really nice, and I highly recommend checking it out. And then the next app is called Dumbify, and so this makes your phone look like a dumb phone, which is kind of cool. However, if you're like me, it wasn't that helpful because I just search all my apps, but it does make my phone look kind of boring and not super like engaging, so I like that about it. And it also makes it harder basically for you to access certain apps because it just makes it list form and it looks really like dumb. Yeah, it basically just changes the UI of your phone, and this one is a paid app. I do remember, I think it's like $7, but it's really nice to have my phone look a little bit less engaging, and I think it's kind of cool that you can just do this with your regular iPhone instead of having to buy a separate dumb phone device. Anyways, that's it for my app recommendations that help me be off my phone and sort of try to be offline. But let's move on to some of the more fun ideas, and of course the most fun one is carry a book around with you everywhere. I love to carry my little book around with me everywhere, whether it's my e-reader or like a physical book. I know this is like the oldest trick in the book, but it's actually really helpful, and whenever I have free time, it's always nice to just be able to pull out my book and not scroll on my phone. Okay, now the things that you probably actually think are fun and not super nerdy. One of my biggest tips for starting a new semester or starting the school year is to fill up your calendar with all kinds of things. You need to be busy so that you have no chance of doom scrolling and looking at your phone. And also being busy can be kind of fun, whether you're joining a club or just like hanging out with friends a lot. It's always good to block off some time in the calendar for like socialization or learning or, you know, all the things that are not just passive online time. Something I like to fill up my time with is by going to the gym some more. It's always good to get a nice workout in, and also like you're doing two good things at once. You're working out and you're not being on your phone. So, and also like you're filling up time in your day. And then another thing that I really like to do is going on walks, or always taking the option of walking instead of like being in a car or taking the bus or something. As much as I love public transport, it is often a time for me to like just kind of doom scroll or sit there. But if I'm walking, I'm kind of actively thinking about things and looking at different things, and you kind of have to pay attention to the road. Please don't text and walk. Those people are so annoying. Oh my god. But yeah, it's nice to just go on a walk and put more of those into your schedule. If you can kind of build your day around walks, which I definitely have this semester, then that's kind of helpful for you not to be on your phone. Now, along those lines, it's really cool if you could use some sort of device that is not your phone to listen to music while you walk. So I like to take my iPod around campus and kind of look really nerdy that way, but it's fun to just like be in a different environment entirely, and it almost feels like I'm like time traveling when I'm walking. But you can even bring like CD players or like a cassette player if you have one, and just like walk around doing some of these like more music walks or intentional walks where you maybe like listen to an album while you walk is a good way to not be online literally all the time. On that note, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say it all over this channel, but you could make some CDs for yourself. It's a really fun hobby, trust me, and also you could like low-key sell them to people if you wanted to, and it's just fun to kind of interact with physical media instead of digital media all the time. And so I have a tutorial on how to make CDs. You just need a CD burner and some blank CDs, and it can be really fun and really cool. Something else I have a video on is doing a detox with my phone. So I basically went a whole day without using my phone at all. Like, I didn't use maps. The only thing I did was like call and text people if they had texted me already, just, you know, to make sure to tell them that I'm alive, and also to have it on me for safety reasons. But I like didn't touch it the whole day, and I didn't use social media or anything, and it was really fun, and it was a good way to sort of set the tone for the rest of like the following days coming up. I wasn't so attached to my phone, and I kind of understood like, okay, I can sit in silence during this time, or I can walk to class without looking at my texts or something. I really recommend doing one. Honestly, it was so fun, and I did it like for a whole week after, because it's just nice to sort of disconnect yourself sometimes from social media and like everything that's always going on all the time. But I will say it is important to stay in the loop and to continue to read the news and stuff, because when I did it, I was like just blind for a week, and I didn't really think about, oh, maybe I should see like any current event ever. So that's the only thing I would say about that. That being said, being intentional about what kind of media you're consuming during the semester also is really important. For example, like if you have the choice between watching a movie or like scrolling on your phone, watching like the longer form content is pretty important, and also interacting with actual news sources occasionally and not just getting your news from social media. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I have a tendency to do that. And also you can then choose when you are subjecting yourself to some of the horrors in the world, instead of just them being thrust upon you when you are reading or scrolling or doing whatever on the web. Now, there are a couple of other like small things that I've been doing this semester that are a little bit different. So I have been very like pro digital note. I love taking notes on my iPad, but this semester I kind of wanted to try taking notes on paper again. It had been a really long time, and I feel like I started to not pay attention in class when I would take my laptop with me. So I tried writing paper notes for the first time in a long time, and it was actually really nice. And I also have been paper planning, which is not something that I'm really used to, but I've been really enjoying it, and I found that I'm having more time to actually like think about my day and to write down my to-do lists and stuff. And also it kind of doubles as having a little bit of like a record of my day and everything that has happened. I do this thing where I write like one sentence, or like not even a sentence, like 4 or 5 words about things that happen on each day in my planner, and that's been kind of fun. And the other thing I've also been doing is taking a little tiny journal around, and I usually do this normally, but I've been like really doing it this semester, where like when I'm actually really bored and I don't feel like reading, or if I'm bored in class but I don't want to seem rude, I can just like subtly doodle in this notebook instead of like blatantly scrolling on my phone or on my computer. It's been cool to revisit paper, like normal pen to paper, and it's kind of fun. And it's something like as a college student especially, you don't necessarily have anymore, because a lot of kids in my class take notes on their laptop and it's just easier to have it all in one place. But taking the time to sort of like mindfully write notes has been kind of fun, and I recommend you trying it out. Now, something else you can do is doing this thing that I like to call playing the phone hiding game. And so basically, when I'm about to study or I'm about to do something that doesn't require me to have my phone with me at all, like even cooking or something, I'll put my phone in kind of a weird space, and it's not weird enough that I'll like forget where it is, but it's weird enough that I won't immediately be like, oh, let me just reach for my phone. Whenever I put my phone, even like in a drawer, my brain is stupid. Like the object permanence is just not there, and I just forget where my phone is, and it makes it a little bit harder for me to go like actively search for my phone and then like pull it out and use it. Especially while I'm studying, I like to lock my phone like a walking distance away from me. And also on that note, going to places where you study well, like the library, and where there's distractions that are not online specifically, is definitely really good, and especially good for your grades. Now, I understand that sometimes you're not always going to like not be on your phone, and sometimes there are even like situations where it's weird not to be on your phone. This happens to me a lot when I'm like waiting in line and like I'm next to a bunch of people and they're all on their phone, and if you're like just staring off into space, it kind of feels like you're staring at them. Or if you're just like waiting for something usually, or on the bus, and you don't want to look like you're paying attention to other people and you don't want the social interaction at that point. I understand. I totally understand. So I like to do a couple of things on my phone that are not like online per se, and most of them involve playing a little game. So some of the games that I like to play are like Sudoku and Crossy Road and crosswords and like Wordle and all the New York Times games. I recommend trying to get yourself addicted to them so that every time you pull out your phone, you're more thinking about the game instead of like actually scrolling, especially like if you often have to wait for something in your schedule every day, and then you can be like, oh, this is the time when I play the crossword. And this is just kind of some general advice, but as someone who has started many semesters and, you know, went through high school and everything, the first day routines are so important. What you do after your first class, or what you do after the first day of school, is setting the precedent for like every other day. And so if you get home and you immediately are on your phone or something, then you're just gonna like set this precedent in your mind that that's what you do after school, and you want to avoid that at all costs. So read a book, watch a show, lay down, like do anything else but be on your phone the first day, because then every day from then it's just gonna get harder to break that habit. And then also, as the school year goes on, I want you to kind of like just understand that being bored is okay, and it's an emotion that we're all supposed to feel sometimes. You don't always have to constantly be doing something or constantly be looking at different information or different online sources. You can just be a normal person and like experience things and take in things instead of like taking in insanity. And I think this is especially important to remember as the semester gets harder and the mental health gets lower and the motivation gets lower, that scrolling on social media is not really the solution for those kinds of things. It may hurt in the long run, so trying to start fresh and trying to be good with being bored and to have built good routines that will help you stay off your phone less may sound kind of silly, and some of them may sound like common sense, but hopefully like in the long run it does actually help you try to stay away from some of those things that might be making your mental health worse. And then the last thing I'm gonna say to help you have an offline semester, I want you to come a little closer for this one. Don't use AI. Oh my god. You have a brain. I 100% believe in you that you can do the assignment without AI. You can write the paper without AI. You can do so many things without AI, especially anything creative. Don't do anything creative with AI. I understand it's a tool, I understand it can be helpful sometimes, but don't make it such a habit that you are then relying on it the whole semester. That is definitely not going to help you have an offline semester. Just basically try to avoid AI at all costs. I understand sometimes it's helpful for smaller things, things that maybe you don't care about, but to do it for things that you had the opportunity to be creative or to learn something with, I think personally is just not going to be helpful for you in the long run, and also a little crazy, so, you know, that's just my 2 cents. But yeah. Anyway, Slayers, I hope that you have a really good semester. I also hope I have a good semester, because I'm a little worried, but I hope that the doom scrolling doesn't catch up to you too much, and that you're able to live your life full and have so many fun experiences, and I hope you're able to have so much fun, and fun that doesn't require you to be on your phone or to subject yourself to the mental torture that sometimes scrolling on social media is. So anyways, I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Bye!